If you walk into any big museum, the Louvre, the Met, wherever, and check out the ancient Greek statues, you're going to see a lot of naked dudes. We're talking about the A-listers of the ancient world. Hercules, Zeus, Apollo, Olympic champions. These guys are jacked. They have perfect hair, perfect faces, and abs so defined they look like they could grate cheese. They are the definition of the perfect male body. But if you look a little lower, you might notice something seems kinda small. By today's standards, these gods and heroes are surprisingly underwhelming in the manhood department. It's not just one statue, it's all of them. What's going on here? Did the sculptor mess up? Was the marble cold that day? No. This was 100% intentional. Because in ancient Greece, the land of philosophy, democracy, and mythology, having a small penis was considered superior. It was a status symbol. It meant you were smart, cultured, and basically a high-class human being. And being big? That was embarrassing. That was strictly reserved for idiots, monsters, and the uncivilized losers they called barbarians. This sounds totally backward today, right? Modern culture constantly screams the message that bigger is better. So, what were the Greeks thinking? The reason is way weirder than you probably imagine. The ideal Greek man was not some rage-fueled warrior or a guy obsessed with sex. The ideal man was a thinker, a guy who had his life together. The Greeks were obsessed with one major idea: self-control, moderation. They believed life was a constant battle, a war between your brain, the part that makes you human and civilized, and your animal instincts, the part that makes you want to eat too much, fight too much, and sleep around too much. To be a great man, your brain had to be the boss, not your body. So, how does this relate to the size of the statues? In the Greek mind, a large phallus was basically a giant billboard that screamed, "This guy is a mess." It meant the animal instincts had won the war. It meant the man was ruled by his lust, not his brain. He was basically just a wild animal walking upright. On the flip side, the small, relaxed look was the ultimate symbol of self-control. It was the gold standard. It showed a man who was the master of his own body. He was cool, calm, and collected. He was the kind of guy you wanted running your city, not causing chaos in the marketplace. If you want to see what the Greeks thought was unattractive and absolutely hilarious, you just have to look at how they depicted the losers of their world. Enter the Satyrs. These were mythological creatures, half man, half goat. Think of them as the ultimate ancient frat boys. They were constantly drunk, breaking things, and completely obsessed with sex. They represented everything a good, respectable Greek citizen was supposed to hate. And how did the Greeks draw satyrs on their vases and pottery? They always gave them massive, exaggerated, erect phalluses. But this wasn't meant to be impressive. It was meant to be grotesque, shocking, and funny. It was a visual code for, look at this ridiculous creature. It has zero self-control. Then there's the god Priapus. This guy's story is just sad. Priapus was a minor god who was cursed with a permanent, enormous erection that was so big it actually made him useless. He couldn't even walk properly because this thing was always in the way. This wasn't a symbol of power. It was a cosmic joke. The Greeks literally used statues of him as scary garden gnomes to keep birds away from their crops. The Greeks didn't just use this for mythology. They used it as propaganda. When they depicted barbarians, which was their word for anyone who didn't speak Greek, they often drew them as hairy, wild, and very well-endowed. It was an artistic insult. Look at these uncivilized people. They can't control their urges. We, the Greeks, are better because we use our brains. Ancient Greek theater was wild. If a character in a play was supposed to be an idiot, a drunk, or a coward, the actor playing him wouldn't just act silly. They would strap on massive, oversized fake phalluses made of leather. In ancient Greece, men exercised completely naked. The word gymnasium actually comes from the Greek word gymnos, which means naked. The gym was where men hung out, trained, and showed off how fit, and therefore how controlled, they were. And they took the ideal of the understated look very, very seriously. They practiced something that historians call the dog leash trick. I am not making this up. The Greek word for it is kynodesma. They would use a small leather strap to tie the foreskin closed over the tip of the penis. Then they would anchor the strap around their waist or curl the whole package up to the side. Why go through all this trouble? Because showing the tip was considered incredibly shameful, vulgar, and low class. Only barbarians or slaves let it all hang out. They were literally tying themselves up to create that neat, contained, high-status look you see on the statues. You can even find paintings on ancient pottery showing athletes tying their dog leashes before a competition. Imagine having to do that before hitting the treadmill. This Greek ideal was so powerful that it dominated Western art for centuries. Fast forward nearly 2,000 years to the Renaissance. Artists like Michelangelo were obsessed with bringing back the glory of ancient Greece. Think about Michelangelo's David. It's probably the most famous statue in the world. David is the ultimate thinking man's hero. And following the Greek tradition, his manhood is small and understated. If Michelangelo had sculpted David to look like a satyr, he wouldn't look like a hero ready to face Goliath. He would look like an idiot. So, if the Greeks set the standard for beauty for thousands of years, when did everything flip? We can blame the Romans. The Roman Empire conquered Greece, and they adopted a lot of Greek culture. But the Romans were very different people. They were aggressive, militaristic, and way less concerned with moderation than the Greeks. The Romans viewed the phallus in a completely opposite way. For them, it was not a symbol of uncontrolled lust. It was a symbol of power, dominance, luck, and protection. Phallic symbols were absolutely everywhere in Rome. They weren't hidden, they were celebrated. They were basically the ancient equivalent of a lucky horseshoe. People wore them as good luck charms on necklaces. They hung wind chimes made of dozens of tiny bronze penises that jingled in the breeze. Seriously. They were carved into door frames, city walls, and even baked into bread loaves. They were carved into the street pavements to ward off the evil eye and bring good fortune. If you were walking down a Roman street, you were probably stepping on a penis carving. If you visit the ruins of Pompeii today, you can see paintings of that god Priapus, the guy with the massive endowment, on the walls of wealthy villas. But in Rome, it wasn't a joke. It was a sign of wealth, like, look how much abundance I have. Fast forward to the modern era. Cultural values have shifted dramatically again. The rise of modern media, the impact of the internet, and a culture that often equates physical size in everything, bigger houses, bigger cars, bigger muscles, with masculinity and success, have completely reversed the ancient Greek ideal. So the next time you're in a museum looking at one of those magnificent Greek statues, you'll know exactly why they look the way they do. It's not a mistake. It's a statement about what it truly meant, in the minds of the ancients, to be the perfect man. Brains over brawn. If you thought this was insane, hit like and subscribe for more. Let me know in the comments the topic you suggest for next video.